This is the Mexican werewolf El Chupacabra from Hood Slam, and you're watching Wrestling with Regret.
So, how about that WWE Tag Team division?
Jason Jordan.
Look, for whatever reason, Vince McMahon hates tag teams, just plain despises them, so it's not a huge surprise to see a lot of breakups in WWE. Some are good, some are bad, but by far the most iconic one has to be that of the Rockers. Michaels went on his own and would only become one of the greatest singles performers of his generation, but Marty's career didn't fare nearly as well, as his name is now synonymous with being the weak link of a tag team, or the one who becomes less famous after a split. Needless to say, almost every tag team in wrestling has had a Marty Jannetty, and this week I'm going to rank them the top 8 Marty Jannettys of all time, except of course for Marty Jannetty. Now to further clarify just what makes somebody a Marty Jannetty, here's Oli Davis in a lab coat.
Thank you, Brian. Now for the purpose of this video, a Marty Jannetty is someone who fulfills one or more of these requirements. He debuted for a major company as part of a tag team or was otherwise best known for being in one. The tag team broke up acrimoniously or otherwise beyond their control. For example, if the team was split up in a draft. And finally, the partner went on to have a successful singles career with significant time in the main event, while the Marty would go on to do little to nothing of note. Back to you, Brian!
Thanks, Ollie. Nice coat.
Thanks! It's woven out of Jimmy Valiant's hair!
Gross. Let's begin. Number 8. Charlie Haas. When today's fans think of the less popular members of tag teams, Charlie Haas often ranks right up there, and at least in WWE, it's not hard to see why. Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin debuted for WWE in 2003 as Team Angle, eventually being renamed the world's greatest tag team. Those two definitely lived up to their name, with their incredible amateur pedigree and unmatched athleticism. The team actually split twice over the years, once in 2004, then again in 2007 after a year-long reunion. And during both of those breakups, Haas did pretty much diddly-dick with his time. Though in fairness, it's hard to compare these two as singles wrestlers when you look at what Shelton did in literally his first week by himself.
He's the bully of this. Splash in the corner. And the roll up. The cradle will it. Oh my God! Oh my God!
In an era when almost nobody pinned Triple H, let alone clean, Benjamin received instant credibility after that fateful episode of Raw. They never fully capitalized on his new popularity, but he did get a few Intercontinental and US title reigns out of the deal when it was all said and done. That first win over Hunter, though, was what turned him into a star. Charlie, meanwhile, got a brief tag title run with Rico, then took on the impressionist gimmick that would be later given to Damien Sandow. And while entertaining in its own right, calling yourself the Glamour Haas can't possibly compare to what Benjamin was able to accomplish as a solo competitor. Number 7. Joey Mercury. In 2005, the team of Joey Mercury, Johnny Nitro, and Melina exploded onto the tag team scene as M&M. Easily one of the showiest tag teams of the day, the group won the SmackDown tag titles 3 separate times. Melina was known for her sexy, full-split entrance, Nitro was known for his insane athleticism and marble-carved body, and Mercury was, well, he was around. Well, actually, that's not very fair. Mercury is best known for, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. The team was abruptly split up in 2006 after Mercury failed a wellness test. He was released in 2007, but returned in 2010 as a member of the Straight Edge Society, then was immediately taken out of action with an injury. While all this was going on, his former partner, Johnny Nitro, who would later become John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, Felix the Hammer Monroe, etc., went on to win tons of championships both in WWE and elsewhere. Though his career never flourished like that of his perfectly abbed partner, Mercury would become a vital part of the WWE machine, becoming a trainer and eventually a backstage agent, and was most recently seen as one half of J&J Security before being released earlier this year. Number 6. Chris Harris. One of the most popular tag teams during TNA's early days was America's Most Wanted, comprised of Chris Harris and James Storm. Managed by Gail Kim, this team had a dominant run for the first 5 years of the company's existence. But in December of 2006, that partnership was shattered like the bottle that James Storm broke over Harris's head, allowing LAX to retain their tag team gold. After the breakup, Storm would go on to form Beer Money Inc. with Bobby Roode. The Cowboy and the future Glorious One would go on to win the TNA tag titles 5 times between 2008 and 2016. And as a singles competitor, Storm even won the TNA World Championship in 2011 after beating Kurt Angle on an episode of Impact. Now, Storm would only hold the world title for 8 days, so while his accomplishments after splitting from AMW aren't exactly earth-shattering, it's still A+ material compared to what happened to Chris Harris.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Braden Walker. And I'm gonna knock your brains out.
As has been discussed before in this show, the Wildcat jumped to WWE in 2008, got fat, and changed his name to Braden Walker. The Brain Knocker-Outer only had a couple of matches in Stamford before getting released. He came back to TNA for all of 2 weeks in 2011 to join the group Immortal, was pinned by his former partner at Sacrifice, then vanished once again. Number 5. Ted Dibiase and Manu. These days, Cody Rhodes is one of the hottest names in pro wrestling. The guy is working everywhere, and as of this recording, is the current Ring of Honor World Champion. So, basically the polar opposite of these two guys. Ted Dibiase Jr. made his official in-ring debut for WWE in June of 2008, when Cody, who was already a Raw Tag Team Champion with Bob Holly, turned on his partner and joined up with the son of the $1 Million Man to create a new championship duo. Shortly thereafter, Manu, the son of Wild Samoan Alpha, joined their ranks, and the three became the nucleus of the Legacy stable. Manu proved that every talent pool has a shallow end. It was cut by WWE within 5 months of his debut, while Dibiase and Rhodes split up after being destroyed by Randy Orton at WrestleMania 26. The grandson of a plumber would go on to have plenty of single success, both in WWE and beyond, following his release. Meanwhile, Dibiase was initially given a considerable push. He was the star of the Marine 2, the first of what would become several sequels. He later inherited his father's gimmick, his belt, and even his mildly racist implication of a manservant. But for whatever reason, Dibiase as a solo act never really took off. By the end of his run, he started calling his fans the Dibiase Posse, which, ick. Ted Jr.'s deal with WWE expired in 2013, and he has since more or less retired from wrestling. Number 4. Devon Dudley. Brother Devon is one of those rarities in wrestling. He's a 2-time Jannetti. Of course, Devon is best known for being one half of the Dudley Boys, one of the most iconic tag teams in wrestling history. Winning approximately half a bajillion tag titles in their illustrious career, this team truly did it all together in ECW, WWE, New Japan, and TNA. Back in 2002, the team was split up for the very first time as a result of the inaugural WWE Draft Lottery. Though Bubba never really had a shot at Raw's World title as part of the Triple H show, he did get a sizable push in the mid-card as Hardcore Champion. Over on SmackDown, Devon was given his infamous Reverend gimmick. The character fit him pretty well, as his father was a bishop and his mother a pastor, but in WWE it went over like, well, a fart in church. Reverend Devon was known for primarily 2 things: introducing fans to Batista and revealing his hatred of badgering the witness.
Oh, and tonight's sermon has to deal with masturbation.
This phase ended pretty quickly as Bubba and Devon would reunite by the end of that same year. Fast forward to 2010 in TNA, when Bubba, now known as Bully Ray, turned heel by attacking Devon at the end of their retirement ceremony. After that feud ran its course, Devon would team up with the Pope for a series of unsuccessful matches for the tag team titles. At Victory Road in March of 2012, Devon answered Robbie E's open challenge to become the new TNA television champion. He would go on to become the longest reigning champion at 192 days, though he stopped actually defending it at around day 88, then would leave the company at the end of August, only to finally have the belt stripped on September 26th. Devon would eventually return to the company as a member of Aces and Eights, winning a second TV title along the way. But while that was happening, Bully Ray would go on to become the TNA World Champion after turning heel and announcing himself as the group's leader. So I guess if you stack everything up, it's hard to call Devon a full-blown Jannetti based on the moderate success he had in TNA after the team broke up, but it is hard to compete with what Bully Ray accomplished in that same time period. Also, come on.
Masturbation!
Number 3. Rick Steiner. When it comes to legit brother tag teams, there are a few who can hold a candle to the Steiner brothers. One of the best tag teams of all time, these two are really the total package of size, strength, and wrestling acumen. But once they broke up, the two went on largely different paths. At Super Brawl 1998, Scott stabbed his brother in the back and went solo. As I mentioned on this channel a few weeks ago, Scott became one of WCW's top singles stars and was one of the lone bright spots during the company's dying days because of his memorable look and promo style. While Rick still won a handful of championships in WCW after the split, it was his tag title run post-breakup that takes the cake in terms of weirdness. Rick and his new partner, Buff Bagwell, beat Scott Hall and the Giant for the belts at Halloween Havoc 98, even though Bagwell turned on Rick mid-match. Steiner would bestow the other tag belt to Kenny Chaos, but after Chaos went down with an injury, Rick's new tag team partner was the legendary Judy Bagwell. You know, in hindsight, you could argue that Mrs. Bagwell became a Jannetti in her own right. I mean, come on, what the hell has she done after they broke up? Also, I'm sorry, but once you're involved in a skit where you're talking trash to a pre-recorded Chucky on the big screen, nothing can revive your career.
I came here to talk to that idiot standing next to you.
Bring your raggedy rear end down here! You got something to say to me!
Though Rick would also win the US and TV titles after splitting with Scott, comparing the two in singles runs just isn't fair. Scotty was clearly the bigger star of the two, for lack of a better term. Number 2, Jim Neidhart. Another multiple-time MJ on this countdown, Jim Neidhart's fall from relevancy actually predates Jannetty's by 9 months. How is this phenomenon not named after him? Along with his brother-in-law Brett, Jimmy Jam Anvil was part of one of the hottest tag teams of the late 1980s with the Hart Foundation, winning the WWF tag titles on 2 occasions for a combined reign of 483 days. After WrestleMania 7 in 1991, Brett and Jim went their separate ways. Within months, Brett won his first of 2 Intercontinental Championships and the King of the Ring, while Jim lingered in the mid-card and occasionally provided color commentary. By the end of '91, Jim was teaming with Brett's younger brother Owen as part of the New Foundation. This parachute pants-wearing duo didn't see a whole lot of success, and Jim would get the axe in February of 1992, just 8 months before Brett would win his first of 5 WWF championships. Neidhart returned to the company a handful of times over the decade, but spent most of his time as a henchman or worse. In 1996, for example, he was hired back purely as a favor to Stu Hart, relegated to being a walking Abbott and Costello joke as the masked jobber Who.
Now the gentleman in the mask there in the yellow is Who?
Right. Who's the referee? I don't know who the referee is. Who's wrestling?
After the Montreal Screwjob in 1997, Brett, Jim, and the British Bulldog all left for WCW. Even though it would take a while for Brett to find his footing as the star he should have been there, he still did a lot better than Jim, who struggled to find success and was eventually released. It's hard to find people in the Hart family who achieved mainstream success but did so little on their own. Even his daughter Natalia's been the Divas champion one time. And my pick for the number 1 Marty Jannetty of all time besides Marty Jannetty is Stevie Ray. When your brother is one of the most decorated wrestlers in history and your greatest singles accomplishment is being the leader of the NWO B team, yeah. As Harlem Heat, Stevie Ray and Booker T redefined the tag team scene in WCW and around the world. Breaking down barriers for black athletes in wrestling, the siblings would win a record 10 WCW tag team championships. The team made their first official split in 1998 when Stevie Ray joined NWO Hollywood, but unlike most team breakups, the split between Stevie and Booker was more or less amicable. The two had a peaceful coexistence on the roster, even though Stevie was a heel and Booker was a face. Harlem Heat would reunite in the summer of 1999, winning tag team gold 3 more times, but by the year 2000 the team split again, though this time it was far more hostile. Stevie Ray would go on to turn his back on Booker and form Harlem Heat 2000 with Big T, Cash, and their attorney Jay Biggs, not to be confused with this Jay Biggs. Shortly after Booker won his feud with Stevie Ray in 2000, the elder Huffman moved to the commentary table in WCW for reasons known only to whatever sadists were in charge at the time. Aside from the occasional one-off match in WCW and a handful of bouts in World Wrestling All-Stars, Ray never wrestled on a full-time basis again. Compare that to his brother and, well, there is no comparison. Booker would go on to win just about every title there was to win in WCW and WWE, including, of course, a combined 6 World Championship reigns. In my opinion, that makes Stevie Ray the biggest non-Marty Jannetty in history. Any more Martys I may have missed? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.
Hit you with the drop kick. Cheese, Saganaki, Greek.